cool that we have those old annual reports. I haven't read
Before
them.
you hit the enter, have to type it all back.
Wonder when we stopped doing it.
I hadn't been since because when I first got here, I told them I wanted to do that. I think we should.
I think it should be.
Today,
The way I look at
purple
it, this is a really
they
big
said everybody was making fun of
we
me.
owe it to our
Because you were all purpled out.
Like totally, you were color coded, totally
financial
purple,
accountability.
everything,
There is nothing wrong with that.
nothing.
No argument here?
Good, bad, or indifferent, they should know.
I think we're good.
So you are here.
She put two of those up here so you could have one in Chris.
Good afternoon. It is 2 o'clock, and I'll call to order the May 24th meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. They're in your packet. Are there any comments or questions regarding the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And it passes unanimously. The next item is the consent docket. There are 13 items, I believe, a number of contracts, change orders. Are there any questions or comments or any items that the trustees would like to pull for individual consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a concurrence docket. There's one item on the concurrence docket. It's a contract with the City of Oklahoma City regarding some roadway pavings on North Kelly Street, and there are no OCWUT funds involved in this change order. Any questions? Is there a motion for approval? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It's passed unanimously. Item 5 is an emergency construction contract. This is a sanitary sewer project, emergency in the area of Grand Boulevard and Southeast 15th Street. Are there any questions regarding this item? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? Please vote. And it passes unanimously. Item 6, items for individual consideration. Item A is an amendment to the contract for engineering services with Freeze and Nichols, Project ST0149, North Canadian Wastewater Treatment Plant. Mr. Browning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is an amendment to a contract to make improvements to the North Canadian wastewater treatment plant, an engineering amendment. The improvements are going to be through SRF funding, so the effort to manage that funding is a little greater than it would be through normal funding channels. So we're adding money for that. We're adding additional construction phase services where we're having construction management services added to the contract. In addition to that, we're looking at some bid alternates to maybe try to save a few dollars on the project. So we've added a little funding for that. And then there's an electrical system study that needs to be applied back to the electrical improvements at the plant. So the blending of those two added a bit of extra dollars to the engineering services as well.
Very good. Are there any questions regarding item 6A? We have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. And it's approved unanimously. Item 6B, items 6B and 6C outside of rate setting are probably the two most significant things we do each year. It's our operating budget and our capital improvement budget. And for item B, we have our 5-year capital improvement budget. And Crystal is here to do a presentation for us.
Hello. Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. Okay, before I really get into the meat of actually the capital improvement plan, I want to discuss a couple of the challenges that we've been seeing this year. As you probably are aware of, if you've gone to the grocery store, have gotten gas recently or anything like that, we have seen an increase in materials, especially for things like steel, concrete, copper, fuel, and aluminum, and a lot of things that we buy that are made with those items. We've seen a lot of equipment prices increase as well. On top of that, we have had a lot of labor shortages, and not just within the city ourselves, because we all know we've had some challenges there, but our consultants are having challenges and our contractors are having challenges. We are also seeing the delays of the arrival of equipment and materials. Stuff that used to be readily available and on the shelf can take up to 18 months now to get some of these items in. So all of these things have affected prices, construction contracts, and because of that, we've been trying to come up with some creative solutions. Because of the delays on equipment and materials, we're trying to do faster turnaround stuff that, some of these projects, we have been extending the time. We maybe would have ordered a year down the road. Now we're ordering as quickly as possible, turning around submittals quickly, but we're also trying to share in the risk. And some of the things that we are doing with that is we are giving time where a project would have normally taken a year, we might be giving them a year and a half or 2 years, depending on these delays that they're seeing, or the ability for labor. We've also created kind of a CPI adjustment in a couple of our contracts. We already have it in the Atoka pipeline contract for the steel. We are actually doing that now at the South Canadian project that'll be opening tomorrow. But basically what we're trying to do is share in those risks, and by sharing in those risks, if prices go up, we might pay a little bit more, but if we see the prices go down, we might be able to recoup some of that money that was bid. So instead of paying a one-time open bid, that's the price we pay no matter what, we'll be adjusting it over every couple of months to make sure that everything is reflective and that we can get hopefully some of our money back if prices drop down. We're also looking at things like federal funding. We have recently received a $5 million grant for one of our North Canadian projects. Vanessa might talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but we've gotten $1.1 million down back for loan forgiveness. We've applied for a bunch of other loans. So as we get hopefully as costs drop and we get some of this funding, we might be able to move some of these projects that we have moved out back. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the projects that I talked to you about last year that we may have postponed and pushed out further. But when I say postponed, it's really more of we're trying to dampen the cost over several years. So Hefner Emergency Generators is one of the projects that we have kind of pushed out. Even though the construction is past this 5-year point, we're going to be going ahead and doing the engineering, getting prepared, so if the funds become available, we'll move that forward. Draper Clearwells, we're now bringing online last fiscal year, we replaced 10 million gallons storage, which was 2 5-million-gallon tanks. We were going to, in this 5-year CIP, do another 10 million, which was 2 more tanks. Now we're only going to do 1 in this 5-year period, and we're going to push the other one out. Again, if funding becomes available, we'll move it back forward. Eastern Interconnect, we are going to start the engineering, but we've pushed out the construction past the 5-year plan. And then we have a lot of, many years ago, we entered into a global consent order where we had a lot of relief lines on. We've built the main ones, the Tier 1 and Tier 2, which were the most important lines. We have really deleted the Tier 3 sewer lines, and we are going to be focusing on doing more of an I&I infiltration and inflow projects, so we're not paying for the treatment of stormwater at the plants. So we've deleted those projects, we're focusing them in other areas and just trying to save money. So now I'll roll into the CIP. Of course, we do water, wastewater, and sanitary sewer. Our 5-year CIP is about $1.7 billion this year. About the majority of that, of course, is in water, $1.2 billion, and that is, majority of that is to the Atoka pipeline. 26 million is in solid waste, and about 433 million is in sewer. Okay. Here's the picture of the new clear wells that are actually in process of coming online as we speak. So now we'll just talk about just the water itself. It's about $1.3 billion. Again, we break those into 3 categories, kind of water supply, reliability and resiliency, and general improvements. The water supply is about $926 million. Again, a majority of that is the Atoka pipeline. We estimate that at about $900 million. Last year we were talking, it was about $800 million. Those prices we've seen in steel increases that increase is really more in the pipe. We have $316 million in resiliency and reliability and about $16 million in general improvements. Thank you. So Oklahoma City is in the center of this map. Of course, we're served the northwest of Oklahoma from the North Canadian River system, and the southeast system serves kind of the south part of Oklahoma City. Part of this project, again, is the Atoka pipeline. So it is going to be another 100 miles of 72-inch water line. We're already in construction for the river crossing project. That was in last fiscal year. Also in last fiscal year was the first pipeline project. We'll be awarding the second pipeline project at the end of June in this fiscal year. And then the remaining projects are going to be spread out over another 6 to 7 years. Last year I told you that we were going to be completing this in 2025, but because of prices, we have had to stretch that out. So that is kind of a big difference that you will see in this 5-year CIP. Oh, sorry, hit it again. So reliability and resiliency, of course, the Internet Connect project. Last year I did tell you that we thought it would be completed this year, but we have had some challenges with the completion of the design of this project, so that will be completed in this next year. It has the 3 projects left to bid, and we should be awarding them before December. So on water treatment plant, I already mentioned that we were going to be doing the additional Clearwell project, but we are also going to be doing some electrical improvements. At Hefner, there are some facilities and equipment that are past their useful life, and those are going to be some water treatment plant projects we're going to be doing. Again, we have an aged water system, about 1,200 miles is over 50 years old, so we're going to be replacing about 8 miles a year. When Atoka is done, we're going to try and increase that and try and gain a little ground. And then, of course, on the automated meter reading project. So the pilot was supposed to start this year. We've had the same kind of delays in equipment. We expect a lot of that stuff to come in August, and then we will actually start the pilot project in September, and then hopefully it'll be done in about 5 years. So wastewater capital plan. All right, it is about $432 million. 18 million is in general improvements, and about 414 is in resiliency and reliability. Last year I also showed you another slice of the pie that was regulatory. Well, we will be opening bids for South Canadian Wastewater Treatment Plant tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be awarding before the end of this fiscal year. That's why this graph looks a little different from last year. So reliability and resiliency projects. Asset management is another one that we have had labor issues and concerns, so we were hoping to complete the whole system in 8 years. Now we're 3rd year into it and just starting kind of some of the stuff in the 4th year, but it's probably going to be stretched out as well into the next through the 5-year CIP. We are also having to delay some of the stuff for the condition assessment part of that as well, being the valve program, but hope to bring that back as soon as possible. Plant upgrades, again, we have a lot of, just like our water treatment plant, we have a lot of facilities that were built in the 70s and 80s. We'll be doing several projects that will be upgrading equipment at North Canadian, Deer Creek, and Chisholm Creek. And then on the main replacement, we're replacing approximately 16 miles a year on the sanitary sewer. And of course, we have a solid waste management program, and that is roughly about $26 million. You can see it doesn't change much from year to year over the 5-year CIP, and it's mostly equipment and carts. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions regarding the 5-year CIP? That's a lot. All right. Thank you for that presentation. Is there a motion to approve the 5-year 2023-2027 Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust Capital Improvement Plan? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And it's approved unanimously. Item 6C is a presentation on the fiscal year 2023 Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust budget. Vanessa.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairman and trustees. We have for you today a presentation on our proposed fiscal year 2023 budget. So our budget process, the planning and the compilation of the budget includes our strategic business plan and guided by our mission statement. OCWUT is committed to providing water, wastewater, and trash collection services throughout central Oklahoma to safeguard public health and the environment, support public safety, and enable economic prosperity. In addition, our budget process is also guided by our core business initiatives. These initiatives were established to align with council priorities. These core business initiatives include safety. We're responsible for providing a safe work environment for our employees and also for the public. Customer service. We're committed to providing quality customer service and meeting expectations for effective service delivery. Water supply. We're ensuring that we have adequate water supply for now and in the future, and ensuring that we're able to transport those water supplies to central Oklahoma. System resiliency and reliability. We're committed to making sure that our operations and also our capital program have the maintenance and improvements to the utility system so that we have reliability and resiliency to minimize the likelihood of service disruption. Financial management. OCWUT has strong financial management policies which guide us in securing and maintaining our highest credit ratings. And last but not least, regulatory compliance. We are committed to full compliance with regulations and directives of all regulatory agencies. So with that, I'll go into our OCWUT funding sources for FY23. You can see here our proposed sources is about $761 million for the coming year. The primary source origination comes from our service charges. That's $387 million coming from water, wastewater, and solid waste management service charge collections. That comes from our utility bills. Then we have debt construction fund proceeds. These are the financing mechanisms that we use to fund a portion of our capital program. That's $322 million for fiscal year 2023. This includes revenue bond issuances as well as short-term financing through our commercial paper program and loans from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, our SRF loans. After that, you see withdrawals from cash reserves is approximately $34 million. These withdrawals from cash reserves are primarily from water and wastewater utilities to fund a portion of the capital program. Other sources that you see in the smaller pie slices include $9 million. Some of this is chargeback service fees that we collect for allowing other entities within our government to use our billing system that we own. In addition to interest earnings, you see system development charges of about $6 million. These are system development charges that are assessed to developers or in the construction of homes or facilities throughout the city. That's for water and wastewater. Flow fees is a solid waste management revenue source. That's $2 million proposed for fiscal year '23. And then last but not least, we have non-rate payer activities. These are non-operating activities around our trust property, which generates about $1 million in revenue. Now we go to funding uses. That's $761 million. As you can see, that's balanced. The sources and the uses are balanced. Primarily, where the sources are going is a large portion of that is going to execute the capital program for fiscal year '23. That's $483 million for water, wastewater, and solid waste management. The largest component is going to be water. As Crystal mentioned, we're going to be awarding several segments of the second Atoka pipeline in the coming year. Thereafter, we have city utility operations, $109 million. This represents the portion of the OCWUT budget that we plan to transfer, cash flow basis, to fund our city utilities department budget. What we pay out of the city utilities budget includes employee salaries, merit benefits, in addition to some of the large operations and maintenance budget, which includes chemicals, electricity, and maintenance and repair parts. Then we have debt service, $54 million. This is the annual payment that we make on the portion of our debt-funded capital improvement programs. So it includes the long-term debt service payments that we have, in addition to temporary interest that we pay on our commercial paper program, as well as SRF loans. Followed by that, we have trust operations. These are all of the activities that we pay out of the trust directly. This primarily includes professional services, such as external auditor, the external financial services, our trust engineer, as well as franchise fees that we pay to the city, lease payments that we pay to the city. Support services are also covered in trust operations. OCWUT mainly focuses on its core business functions, and we've outsourced our non-core business activities. So things like pavement maintenance, repair, mowing, landscape improvement after projects. We outsource all of those activities. Some of that is to other city departments. That's also funded in trust operations. We have solid waste service contracts. A portion of our solid waste management services, it's outsourced to contractor providers such as Waste Management. This includes trash, residential, and bulky collection, as well as landfill, street sweeping, and fleet maintenance services. That's about $39 million. We also outsource our wastewater treatment plant operations and maintenance. That's a contract about $21 million for the coming year. We have deposits to cash reserves of $6 million. That's primarily in solid waste management. $2 million is going to the Storm Debris Reserve Fund, and $4 million is going to cash fund balance. We have McGee Creek operations of $4 million. This is to fund their capital projects, their operations and maintenance. And last but not least, non-rate payer expenses of about $1 million. So next, we'll go ahead and go into specifically the city utilities budget. As I mentioned, this is a portion of the OCWUT budget that primarily funds our employee salaries, the large chemicals, electricity, as well as maintenance and repair parts. This budget is adjusting about 4.5% or $5 million for FY23. $1.2 million is for salary adjustments. About 2.3 is for program improvement requests, which includes 24 proposed positions. And last but not least, 1.5 million for city chargebacks and other miscellaneous changes. The city chargeback includes services that the city provides to OCWUT, which includes IT, risk management, and administrative services. This is another breakout of the city operation budget by division, and also shows the breakout of the positions by division. So on this slide here, we wanted to show you how the system has grown over the past 11 years. You can see in blue we show water and wastewater miles of pipe, how that has grown as a percentage over the years. In green, you can see how our customer base has grown over the years. The gray line that's shown within the columns is a representation of the utility staff that we have able to meet those growing service demands. On aggregate, we see that the main miles are growing about 15% during this time period. Our customer base grew about 17%, and the employees, including our proposed 2023 budget, is about 10%. So now I'll go into a little bit more into those program improvement requests. These are highlights of the city utilities budget proposal. We'll start with tying back to our customer service core business initiative. We have position restorations and enhancements. In 2020, due to COVID, we eliminated 20 positions from our budget. In this budget proposal, we're looking to restore several of those positions. We're also looking at doing enhancements. For example, we're adding 3 assistant superintendents to our operation division. This includes a position in solid waste management, in water quality, and in customer service. These assistant superintendents will have oversight of between 70 to 100 employees, managing the day-to-day functions, including field operations, as well as, for example, for solid waste management, this position would manage the service-related contracts, those outsourced service providers. This would allow the superintendents to focus on the overall program and execution of making sure that we're meeting service delivery. This is also for business continuity and succession planning within our divisions. Customer service representatives, we're proposing to add 7 CSRs and a unit operations leader to supervise the group. These CSR positions were part of that 2020 reduction that I mentioned. So we're looking to restore these customer service positions. The chart down below shows you performance measure metrics. Over the past 5 years, you can see this metric that we've measured, which was percentage of calls answered within 30 seconds of the first string. You can see over the years how that target and also that performance level has declined slightly. Primarily, I'll point out in 2021, we had several challenges. Not only did we have COVID, we had an ice storm in the fall of 2020. We had a severe winter freeze in 2021. That and our growing customer base is why we're proposing the additional CSRs and the unit operations leader. Furthermore, we're looking at also restoring 2 refuse collector 3 positions. These were also eliminated during the 2020 reduction. These 2 RC3s will help us make sure that we're meeting service demands within our customer base. The graph down below shows another performance metric, which is the percentage of trash collected on time by 5 p.m. You can see while it is a slight margin, we were previously above the target, where here in recent years that has been slightly below the target. And last but not least, on customer service initiatives, we're looking at adding a revenue auditor to our administration division. This position will help us to manage the debt management program. As Crystal mentioned, we have a $1.7 billion capital plan over the next 5 years. That will result in about $1 billion in debt issuances. Over the 10-year period, that's projected to be about $3.3 billion, with about $2 billion of debt issuances. So the growing debt management program is one of the reasons for the need of the revenue auditor. In addition to the federal funding opportunities, there's a lot of federal funding opportunities that we can leverage, mainly coming to utilities to make improvements to the water, wastewater, and solid waste systems. This position will help us leverage those opportunities, making sure that the department has access to those, which will give us the ability to possibly bring back additional projects to our capital plan in the near term. Under our core business initiative for system resiliency and reliability, we're looking at adding additional funding for the treatment facility operations and maintenance. As Crystal mentioned, we've been seeing price increases for materials, equipment, supplies, also for chemicals. So we're adding budget to be able to procure those commodities at the increased prices. Much of this may be due to supply chain logistics, just overall the labor resources is costing more. So a lot of those components play into the additional funding need. Reorganization. We're looking at proposing to add a new division to the organization, which would be called the Utilities Enterprise Systems Division. With that, we're proposing a new position, which would be the division manager, a utilities business systems manager, to oversee the group. We're also looking to add a systems analyst 2 position to help manage our GIS and pressure management system. This will consolidate all of the technology staff within the organization, where currently we have existing staff in the administration and engineering group. So it would be a staff of 19 employees. The majority of those are existing employees. This will help the department execute complex technology initiatives, which include billing system improvements, integration solutions for permitting, GIS, billing, and asset management, implementing a mobile workforce system, having commercial and industrial pre-treatment permitting processes, program management information system. So many complex initiatives that this group will be executing. Under our core business initiatives for regulatory compliance, we're looking to enhance our industrial and commercial pretreatment program. We're adding an environmental unit specialist to help our commercial program. On the industrial side, we're adding a pretreatment coordinator. You can see down below in the chart, this shows how our workload has increased over the years, and this has been due to EPA regulations. In 2018, we established a commercial pretreatment program. The staff in this group helps inspect, monitor, and permit commercial establishments, which mostly include fast food restaurants and automotive facilities. On the industrial side, this includes mostly major industrial customers, but over the years, due to EPA regulations, this now also includes medical marijuana facilities. This will include all medical facilities to make sure that they are properly disposing of any potential hazardous waste. This will also potentially include dental offices, since there is a new rule that will be coming out to make sure that dentist offices are properly disposing of dental amalgam, of that nothing's going into the sanitary sewer system. So these added positions will help make sure that we are permitting, monitoring, and properly inspecting all of these establishments. And on this last slide, Tinker Air Force Base. So we previously had a civil engineer 4 position that was temporarily assigned to Tinker Air Force Base during the award and the transition, where OCWUT was going to own, operate, maintain, and improve the water and wastewater facilities on Tinker Air Force Base. In this budget proposal, we're looking to add an engineering projects manager. This position and the function of this role is really more to administer the contract, the day-to-day operations and maintenance that is outsourced. We have an outsourced provider that does the day-to-day work. So this position would be managing the day-to-day work. It is fully funded by Tinker Air Force Base. And here are some of the performance metrics that are tied to that contract. One of those being making sure that we're responding to water emergencies 100% of the time within 2 hours. The other one is making sure that 80% of the time we have approved capital projects completed on schedule. And so with that, we'll be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions regarding the operating budget?
I just have a real quick question. At what percentage are we currently running on staffing? Any idea?
Out of the 808 positions, we have 120 plus or minus openings, vacant positions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Large budgets, first time it's been over $750 million. Obviously, most of that's up to that level because of the capital construction. Questions? Is there a motion for approval? I have a motion and a second. Please vote. And it's approved unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, this budget will be presented to council next Tuesday for consideration.
Very good. Very good.
Next Tuesday, yes, sir, the 31st.
At the budget hearing. Items from trustees, anything this afternoon?
Chris, we're glad you're back. Hope you're feeling a little better.
Glad to be back. Thank you.
General manager reports, Mr. Browning?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to add at this time.
Did it rain yesterday?
Maybe.
So,
Might rain again today.
yeah, so that should help Hefner, obviously.
Hefner's not doing too bad. Draper, we've had some challenges with Draper this year. We had to take the pipeline down a number of times to make connections with the new facilities that we built. And then we had some pump failures recently. The pump should be back in service within the next couple of weeks. So right now, we're only able to pump about 65 million a day. And because of the extremely hot weather early in the year, we've been using just about everything we're pumping. So hopefully we'll start catching up here soon.
Okay, but Canton's in pretty good shape,
Canton is a little above full pool.
and Atoka and
They're a
McGee
little
Creek.
above full pool.
So everything's good except Draper.
We have plenty of water, we just need to be able to get it here, and we're working on that.
All right. All right, any other questions for Mr. Browning? I'm not aware of any citizens to be heard have signed up. Therefore, we are adjourned. Thank you.